Good PM from here, and welcome to yet another training video. In our previous section, we narrowed price into a 100 pips range. Don't forget that we have already established a base or a background of price, that is simplifying price from 1,000 pips narrowed down to quarters. Now, as price, we believe that each movement in price begins and ends at a quarter point. And what are quarter points? Quarter points are those subdivisions we made from the 1,000 pip range when we had 1,000 divided into the half of 1,000, which is 500, and furtherly divided into the 1/4 of it. That is a 1/4, a portion of that price, a portion in that price is what we refer to as what quarter point, right? They are called quarter points. So from this point to this point is called a quarter point. And then we, of course, establish the base that each price or that price begins and ends at what? At each quarter point. That is, price begins at each quarter point and all right, since we already know that price, all these levels, that is the quarter levels, can serve as support and resistance, and of course can also serve as support and resistance, right? And we mentioned that each price movement begins at a quarter point and ends at the next quarter point. And this is a quarter point. This is a quarter point. Now, for price to successfully complete a quarter point transitioning, it has to move from its originated level and then moved to its target level. So this is on an uptrend, and therefore we can boldly say that price is moving from this quarter point 750 and to the quarter point above it's 7,000. All right. So the transitioning from point A to point B above is what we call price movement or transition in price. Now, this transition in price cannot be effectively completed without price meeting obstacles in this in the process of completing its transitions. So in those processes, we identify some levels that is capable or has the ability to retain price or to restrict price from completing a large or a large quarter point. Those levels, I want to introduce one of the levels in which that price can get to, and we would precisely say that price has completed its quarter movement. Now, if you've been experienced in analyzing and observing price, you would find out that a lot of the times zones we drop on our chart, or levels we drop on our chart. For example, if we have this level on our chart, 900, we find out that most times price does not come exact at 900 most times. It's either that price goes above it or price what does not get to it. Those happenings in the financial market can be given the name called overshoot and undershoot. Now, I will explain what these levels are, and I will let you resonate and ruminate on them. These levels. Now, when the price is moving from point A to point B. Let's use, for instance, what we have on our chart. We have 750 price moving to the next quarter point, 7,000. That means we have 6,750 and price moving to its next quarter point of 7,000. So the movement along this transition is along this all of these zones is what we call, or what we refer as, movement in price, right? I mentioned that. But then for price to successfully complete this level, most of the times, just in this particular situation, in this particular candle, if you can see, broadly, I'm trying to build in my chart. You can see that in this particular candle, price did not hit exact 7,000 before it starts retracing or dropping backward or targeting the next quarter point. Now, what happens? Are we going to establish the base that this particular price has been completed, or that the price is yet to complete? Remember that the basics of a quarter point states that each price movement begins at a quarter point and ends at a quarter point. And I want to make sure you get this notion. Any price, I want you to take this, I want you to jot this down. Any price that fails to complete a particular objective, that is a price that has an objective of completing from, let's use what we have in our chart, for instance, let's say from 750 to, that is from 6,750 to 700 to 7,000. If that price fails to complete this objective, it causes what we call exhaustion in price. And once there is an exhaustion in price, there is no other direction that price is going or is attaining to other than what the presiding quarter point. That is, if price fails at this point to complete a quarter point, it pulls back to where it began. I need you to get this very clear. Price pulls back to where it began, and once it pulls back to where it began, or once that happens, you should anticipate that price is going to retrace back to where it began. Because remember the notion that each price movement begins at a quarter point and ends at a quarter point. So it is very important that we ascertain or we confirm that each transaction in price has been fully completed. Once a price has been fully completed, then we can fully organize price yet again to knowing the next level that price is going to attain. Since we already defined our basis, our ground, that each price movement begins at a quarter point and ends at a quarter point. So if it begins at a quarter point and ends at a quarter point, once it ends at a quarter point and, of course, has confirmed that it has completed a quarter point, that means it is going to begin yet again from that quarter point, targeting what? The next quarter point. So it is very important that you understand when price has fully what? A level or a target. Or also that you understand when price has not. I mentioned this previously, and I'm going to mention it again, that if price fails to complete a particular target or fails to complete a quarter point, it leads to what is called exhaustion in price. And what exhaustion causes is what? Retracement back to where that price began. It's very important you know this. It leads to exhaustion, and then price retraces back to where it began. So those foundations should be able to curb your understanding about trend and transactions. And then so when you're using some tools like Fibonacci, you understand how to place a Fibonacci. And also you understand the trend wave. I think we'll learn about the trend wave as long as we continue in this course of training. Now, the ability for you to spot a completed transaction in price gives you edge over knowing the next prediction, over knowing where price is going next, in line with trend and trend wave cycles. It is important. So, since price does not have an actual face or an actual record of where it can get to, and we can say that the price has actually completed a transaction, since we know fully well that price most of the times do not paste this the exact quarter point it wants to target, or it is targeting. Then we provided levels in price, that when price gets to certain levels, we can say the price has completed that transaction in price. I need you to understand this, and I need you to follow this squarely. It is very important you do. Those levels we place on our chart to help us verify, or to help us confirm that price has completed its transactions, is what we call overshoot and undershoots. Now, I will place them on your chart. Now, let's start from below. Now, overshoots are levels in price that price does not attain. But then for the fact that price is around the overshoot levels, we can confirm that that transaction in price has been successfully completed. And then we know that overshoots are calculated in figures, because whatever we are doing in the financial market is based on arithmetics and figures, right? The fund, we count them in figures. So everything is basically done in figures. So now, these overshoots are giving the price figure 25. I repeat, these overshoots are giving the price figure 25. That is, these 25 levels could be above or below every quarter point. You understand that? Now, if price is moving from here, we know obviously the price is moving from here, going to this level. So now, how do we ascertain that price has completed its transaction? Is via our overshoot levels. Sorry, this is now called undershoot levels, right? Beg your pardon, undershoot levels. Now, and I mentioned categorically that these are priced at 25 levels, below the transaction in price, or below the whole number or the quarter point. Now, if we have 7,000 right here, what you do is on your calculator, you do 7,000 minus 25. And 7,000 minus 25 is going to give you the overshoot level of that price. So if we're going to do that, we have to narrow it, and that is going to give us 6,975, and that forms our overshoot level. So if price has been able to hit here, we could possibly say that this 6,750 quarter point has been successfully completed. All right. So we can emphatically say that the 6,750 quarter point has been successfully completed. And once it's successful completion, we can now go to retracing to either price continuing to the next quarter point, or redressing to the previous preceding quarter point. It is important you know this. Now, this is for overshoot, attesting to that price has completed a transaction. Now, this completion in transaction do not affect the above quarter point. 7,000 has its own objective. Now, remember that it is only a mission for the 6,750 quarter point level. The 6,750 quarter point level, it's only trying to complete its transaction, to complete its mission, thereby getting to 7,000. 7,000 levels has its own objective or mission to complete from 7,000 to 250 levels. So it is not in the 750 level or the 7,000 level objective, but rather the 6,750 objective level, which has been completed. So we can therefore say that the 6,750 level has duly completed its transaction in price and successfully done that. So whether price wants to retrace back or doesn't, it is not the problem of this 6,750 because it has done its role in transiting price from the 6,750 level to the 7,000 levels. So it has done its role. Now it is deciding of the 7,000 level to take off price and run its own independent race. All right. So whatever happens in this price, it is still under Under the due diligence of the 6,750 levels in price. So what if price retraces back? It is still under the jurisdiction of these 6,750 levels. It is important to understand the basics of the foundations that I'm trying to establish. Now, this level is called Undershoot. And it tells us, or it gives us meaningful information that the presiding quarter point has done its due diligence by completing its objective of taking price from its level to the next level. Right. So it is now the responsibility of price to throw this baton to the 700 level, and then the 700 level duly perform its objective also and complete its mission successfully without pullbacks or retracements. Now, we have established this. Now, let me establish an area where we call the overshoot. Now, the overshoot in price are levels above the quarter points areas or ranges. I repeat, the overshoot levels are levels above the quarter points. Now, when we say levels above the quarter points, we mean levels above the 7,000, I beg your pardon. Levels above the 7,000 is what we call levels above. Remember that we already have levels below the 7,000, which we call the undershoot. So having levels above the overshoot, I beg your pardon, having levels above the quarter point is what we call the overshoot. The overshoot. And it is still an increment of 250 pips. So both below and above go with the same equal number of pips. Below we subtract 250, I beg your pardon, below we subtract 25, and above we add 25. So the only difference is that for the overshoot, we are adding 25 to the quarter point, while for the undershoot, we are subtracting 25 from the quarter point. I believe this is clear enough. So what do? We only add 25 plus 7,000, which should give us 7,225, and that's it here, and then we put that on. So this is now called the overshoot. And then let me explain what this level does for us. Remember that when we were targeting price from 6,750 area, targeting to the levels of 7,000, that is, price was moving from the 6,000 level, from the 6,750 large quarter point, targeting its mission or objective, targeting the 7,000 levels. And then we, of course, establish the fact that most of the times, price does not fully retest the 7,000 level or the exact quarter point to be verified or to be confirmed that it has completed it. But then price stepping into the undershoot can also mean that this quarter point has been completed. Now, once price has completed this, for it to the next quarter point to take over price or to independently remove price from the influence of the presiding large quarter point, it has to effectively go above the overshoot. Now, what do I mean? Let me use this area in price to define what I mean. Now, remember that if we're going to have the overshoot of 6,750, that's when we have 6,750, we are just going to add 25, and that's going to give us 6,775. That's 6,775. That becomes our what? Our on or overshoot, right? I beg your pardon. So now, since we have overshoot right here, remember that previously there is still a presiding large quarter point below here, which I didn't map out because we are keeping our focus on explaining exactly what is happening in price around these levels. So right now, we confirm that 6,750 has taken up price from when price exceeded the overshoot level. So what do we say? We mean that for price for 6,750 to boldly present its mission statement, that its mission statement is what? Is to move price from 6,750 to what? To 7,000. Price must what? Must finally or fully move away from the influence of the presiding large quarter point. Now, what do we mean by the influence of presiding large quarter point? This particular price around this level is still under the influence of the presiding large quarter point, which is 6,750. So because price is still under the influence of 6,750, we still say that price can still come right back to this level. All right. So we are still very uncertain if price is if this price is still on an uptrend or is going to retrace to becoming a downtrend. When price has fully entered the overshoot level, we can now fully state that 7,000 has begun its mission. Mission of what? Mission of taking price from the 7,000 to the next large quarter point, which is what? 250 levels. Remember, let's look at the 250 levels. So here we have, that's it here. That's 250 level, exactly at 250 level. So we could say that price now is fully engaged towards taking price above the next large quarter point. Right? Now, what we explained on this particular section has been overshoot and undershoot. And I'll put that on the chart. Overshoot is spelled, excuse me. This is overshoot. This is overshoot, and then we talked about undershoot. Overshoot and undershoot, they are really very important levels in price, and it's important you understand what these levels could do and what it can not do. It's important that you know that price begins at every large quarter point and ends at the next large quarter point, but the next large quarter point begins. We can fully say that the next large quarter point has begun when price has entered the overshoot levels. Now we can say that price has been fully completed when price has tested the undershoot level. I believe this is clear enough. That's where we draw the curtain for tonight's section. On our next section, I would see you yet again. Have a nice day.